Hi, my name is Brian.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Spencer. And our presentation is on business and intercultural communication.
So what exactly is good intercultural communication? What is cross-cultural awareness? Why are diversity issues important? Well, in this clip, Little Pilot will help introduce you to these concepts as he navigates the globe in his cultural cockpit.
It's a big world, full of difference and diversity. How you see others is influenced by your own cultural perspective, and how others see you is influenced by their cultural perspective. What happens when you speak? Do people from other cultures understand you in the way you intended? And what happens with different cultures in the workplace? How rigid or flexible is their approach to rules? Is formal or informal behaviour expected? And how do different cultures approach timekeeping? In today's global business environment, it is essential to learn how to navigate across different cultural landscapes. You need a good set of tools to do this. You need an understanding of how different cultures trade and do business, an insight into how different cultures communicate, and a clear idea of how different cultures communicate. To be a savvy global traveller, you need to be willing to undertake the journey of understanding other cultures. Develop cultural intelligence so you can communicate confidently across cultures.
In today's society, diversity in workplaces are looked upon as a way to see different viewpoints and cultures coming together to work for a company or workplace. We've all experienced the effects when different types of people come together, whether in school, work, or in our own communities. Diversity brings new ideas, promotes innovative thinking, and overall helps to create a steady and diversified foundation.
Diversity is a fact of life in today's working world. With the increase of international trade, the increase of immigration, the probability of working with people from different parts of the world is inevitable. Cross-cultural communication is essential.
Now today, we'll be discussing how to communicate in a diverse society, the cultural differences in business customs and behaviors, diversity and ethical issues, and cover a few points regarding nonverbal communication across cultures. We will conclude the presentation with an activity and a few tips on cross-cultural communications best practices. Culture is a set of shared values that a group of people hold. Such values affect how you think, act, and more importantly, the criteria by which you judge others.
In the workplace, you will have to work with a wide variety of people. California especially is an extremely diverse state. Knowing how to communicate effectively with different groups of people is essential to your professional success. Race and ethnicity also plays a big part of this. In business, you are guaranteed to work with people of all races and ethnicities. Many races can have their own unique cultures. It is critical that you do not overgeneralize across all races. For example, in some cultures, silence is valued more than the mainstream United States values it. Also, some cultures, such as Asian Americans, avoid conflict with others, like Italian Americans encourage facing the conflict head-on. Also, nonverbal communication is highly variable across cultures, as Spencer will go in more depth later on. There is no right way to conduct business across all cultures. It would be very valuable to understand the culture associated with one's race in order to communicate as effectively as possible. Aside from race, one may also work directly alongside people with disabilities. Unfortunately, people with disabilities are often mistreated in the workplace. You should always offer the same respect and kindness that you would to any other person. Make sure to be accommodating when appropriate and to stay patient every time you work with someone with a disability. It is also very important to be aware that what you say has a real effect on people. It can take a toll on someone's self-esteem if you are constantly saying things like, someone will have to help you with that, or you probably can't do that on your own. Instead, let them be independent and self-reliant. If they do need help, they will ask for help. According to the Parquad article, 5 Tips for Working with People with Disabilities, Jana Thomas says that when people realize their personal power to pursue the life they choose, they will begin to reply with, I can do it, I am able, and I'll tell you if I need help. The time period that one grew up in can also affect the way that they communicate. According to Ronald B. Adler in the course textbook, Communicating at Work, the majority of today's workforce comes from baby boomers, Gen X, and millennials. This creates a wide range of ages in the workplace. Boomers' experiences can be dramatically different than those of millennials. As a generality, millennials like to have clear instructions on exactly what they are expected to do and like constant feedback to ensure that they are doing a good job. Their boss, who is a baby boomer, can find that a bit annoying. In their day, boomers were taught that no feedback is good feedback. In the Forbes article, Leading Multiple Generations in Today's Workforce, millennials generally refuse to accept the traditional organizational framework that defines most of the companies out there. Young workers offer many opportunities for innovation. They are more bold, vocal, and technologically savvy compared to their older counterparts. While this is generally a good thing, it can create some tension with coworkers and bosses who were raised differently. It is very important to share knowledge and maintain transparency while working with people from other generations to ease any tensions that may arise. Business leaders know that intercultural savvy is vitally important when pursuing globalization. By understanding the customs and behavior of other cultures, we become more knowledgeable and are able to conduct business on a deeper level without causing offense.
Now let's talk about cultural differences in international business. Customs and behavior in international business is essential. As a country, we make it a point to acknowledge cultural variation. However, the fact remains that not everyone in a culture behaves identically. When you travel to other countries to do business, it's safe to keep in mind that what's considered as proper etiquette varies from country to country. When it comes to formality, Americans pride themselves in their informality and their quickness in getting on the first name basis with others. However, according to Ronald B. Adler in the course textbook, Communicating at Work, business exchanges with persons from other countries, such as Mexico and Germany, tend to be much more formal, and titles are an important way of showing respect. Another form of respect for Americans is looking one in the eyes when shaking hands, but in other countries, looking a superior in the eye may be considered disrespectful. Social customs. Another variable when familiarizing yourself with business protocol is the degree of overlap between doing business and socializing. According to business.com writer Matt D'Angelo, American business meetings are all about business, but in many nations, it's disrespectful not to inquire about one's health and family before talking about business matters. Though there are many differences, one commonality is that virtually all cultures deem socializing after business hours an essential part of building a working relationship in many parts of the world. For example, in much of Eastern Asia, drinking is regarded as a way of bonding that carries over into working relationships. Now, cultures are either high context or low context. Every aspect of global communication is influenced by cultural differences. For example, according to Carol D. Gorman of Forbes.com, it's been noted that industrialized nations such as the US, Canada, and Germany rely heavily on electronic technology over oral or face-to-face communication, while Japan, which has access to the latest technology, relies more on face-to-face communication than the written code. The determining factor seems to be whether the country falls on high context or low context culture. High context cultures, like Asians or Latin Americans, look for meaning and understanding in what is not said about body language and in relationships and empathy. Low context cultures, like most English-speaking countries, place emphasis on direct communication through precise spoken or written words. According to Gorman, one communication trap that US business leaders may fall into is a costly disregard for the importance of building and maintaining personal relationships when dealing with individuals from high context cultures. Now, just like having the ability to identify different cultural customs and norms, understanding that diverse code of ethics of business ethics also proves beneficial. Brian will explain more about that.
So now we move on to understanding diverse codes and ethics. In the business world, many different countries and companies have their own set of moral codes and ethics. Some ethics or moral codes can be different from other places in the world, but it's up to the people working that have to set up ground rules to follow and understand the issues in diversity and ethics. It's been recognized that a universal code is needed for businesses that operate worldwide. Combining ethical ideas from the Western and Eastern world, business leaders from each side have created the Co-Roundtable Principles for Business. According to Ronald B. Elder in the course textbook, Communicating at Work, this code includes treating all employees with honesty and dignity, listening to employee suggestions, avoiding discriminatory practices, dealing with customers fairly, and avoiding internal espionage. And although each region of the world may have different ways of being ethical, business leaders have realized that there are universal basic rights that each human should have when in the workplace. In the workplace, there's an environment that they work in. Working with many different people of many cultures and ethics, it can create a good environment in the workplace. According to the Houston Chronicle, Kimberly Leonard says that when diversity is embraced, it builds stronger teams with better communications. Teams become more innovative, tackling problems from different point of views. By working with a variety of people from different backgrounds, you then start to understand each person and tackle issues with different points of view. Having different points of views helps each person see things differently and understanding of what a person may see that you may not. If diversity is not embraced in the workforce, it creates issues. Leonard goes on to say, when diversity isn't embraced, it can become an ethical issue. If a person feels harassed or discriminated against for their background or beliefs, this becomes an ethical issue. Now we go on to right or wrong. Each person has their own moral code and values that they follow that apply to their work. But it's their choice on how they handle their moral code when things go wrong. One example is medical workers. They are faced with challenges in their workplaces. It comes to a point where their own morals as people and their work environment and ethics can clash with one another. In the article, Moral Courage is Healthcare, Acting Ethically in the Presence of Risk, John S. Murray wrote about how nurses have to stand up if things are ethically wrong. He goes on to write about a nurse named Emily. And after Emily notices some wrongful behavior from her supervisor, she decides to go to the administration and talk about it. But as soon as she did this, her supervisor began to berate her in staff meetings, change her work schedule unfairly and without notice, withhold information, set unreasonable deadlines, and prevent her for opportunities for professional advancement. Even when workers try to defend themselves from situations that are not ethical, there's a price to pay for people that are higher in the ranking. The issue that Emily is dealing with are ethical dilemmas between herself and the supervisor. While other people have shied away from it so they don't fear their workplace, Emily decides to stand up on her ground and tell the workers this is wrong. Murray continues with the idea of moral courage. It is important that all healthcare professionals value and support their peers who have the courage to stand up and speak out against unethical behavior, even when others are silent or differ in opinion. It brings the idea that having moral courage is beneficial when ethics are being broken in the workplace. Risking your career while others stay away silent brings awareness of what is humanly right or wrong, regardless of what the outcome may be. Learning how people from different cultures speak, communicate, and view the world around the world is all part of being an effective communicator. Over 80% of that communication is nonverbal, and how we are perceived by others can either make or break in a business deal.
Now, let's take a look at this clip to see how important nonverbal communication is to Eddie Murphy.
Good morning, sir. What can I get started for you today? What size? All right. 3 venti blocks. Would you care for a pastry? Oh. Mocha. 3 mocha lattes. Double chocolate chip muffin. Yum. You want 3 Paul McCartney CDs? Awesome. I love the Beatles. They are my life. So assassination. Abraham Lincoln. Me. Gun. 3 shots. All right. So 3 lattes, 3 mochas, double chocolate chip muffin, and 3 shots. No assassinations. Oh, and 3 Paul McCartney CDs. It's gonna be 68-12.
Great. So there you can see the importance and how significant nonverbal communication is. Specifically, nonverbal communication among cultures can be more complicated. And nonverbal communication varies a lot among different cultures. Different countries hold different standards and expectations for nonverbal communication, which includes personal space, clothing, and body language. As far as personal space, accepted standards vary among different countries. For example, according to the textbook Communicating at Work by Ronald V. Adler, to Japanese, a comfortable space was 40 inches. For a US resident, 35 inches, and to Venezuelans, 32 inches. It's easy to see how this could lead to problems for a US native doing business overseas. Now, clothing, let's talk about that. Clothing, the way we dress can say a lot about who we are in a business professional setting. An article from businessandprestige.com states, although the Western clothing style have become universal outfits at any given latitude on the globe, it is crucial to remember that small details and differences still exist and are worth considering when one is setting off to do business with partners overseas. Body language is a crucial nonverbal element of communication in any country. However, body language cues vary among different cultures. For example, according to an article from businessinsider.com by Kathleen Elkins and Mike Noodleman, sitting cross-legged is common in North America and some European countries, but it is viewed as disrespectful to show the sole of your shoe to someone in Asia and the Middle East. Next slide, please. Great. The significance of nonverbal communication across cultures. Now, manners and politeness are crucial during first impressions in every country, and nonverbal communication is half the battle. In an article from Zendesk.com, it states manners will differ from region to region, neighborhood to neighborhood, and person to person. Always do plenty of research when traveling abroad or interacting with customers in countries outside of your own. Otherwise, it's easier to come across with someone with bad manners and bad behavior. Now, to establish strong foreign relations, it is important to be aware of the manners of the culture. Nonverbal communication is, in fact, inevitable. What we communicate through our bodies is constant and unavoidable. Therefore, it is essential that we don't ignore its significance. According to the textbook Communicating at Work by Ronald V. Adler, when nonverbal behavior seems to contradict a verbal message, the spoken words carry less weight than nonverbal cues. This means that nonverbal cues are often even more important than the verbal cues. Whether we are conducting business deals, establishing international relations, or really any form of communication between cultures, we must be knowledgeable of the customs of different countries. Failure to do so can result in unintended messages being sent to others. Helpguide.com states, when your nonverbal signals match up with the words you're saying, they increase trust, clarity, and rapport. When they don't, they can generate tension, mistrust, and confusion.
So today we demonstrated how to effectively communicate in a diverse society, the cultural differences in business customs and behaviors, diversity and ethical issues, and how nonverbal communication may vary across cultures.
Diversity in workplaces allows spaces for different viewpoints and cultures to come together. This diversity helps to discover new ways of thinking, promotes innovation, and ultimately helps create a solid and unique foundation for a company. Cross-cultural communication is essential for success in any business endeavor.
Anyone can improve the communication across cultures by simply staying open-minded and understanding cultural differences. If you know that you will be doing business with someone who may have different customs, it would be beneficial to do some research beforehand. This would ensure that you would not accidentally offend someone or show any sort of disrespect.
So now it's time to test your knowledge with a fun activity. We have created a crossword puzzle handout using key terms and definitions from Chapter 2 in the coursebook that directly reflects our presentation topics. This can be accessed through the link provided on the screen, or you may email me for a PDF copy and I'll be glad to send it to you. Lastly, here are references that we used on today's presentation. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them on our discussion post and we'll be glad to address them. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.